Zara journeyed through the pregnancy and finally put to bed. Zara's mother, Joy, was over the moon when she arrived to help care for her new grandchild. She spent her days queuing over the baby, cooking meals, and generally enjoying her new role. But one day, Emenike called Zara with a shocking confession. He was developing feelings for her mother. Zara was shocked. What did you just say? Clean your mouth. That's my mother you are talking about. How dare you even think of her like that? Emenike laughed. Ah, come on, Zara. Your mom is still a beautiful woman. I can't help how I feel. Zara's anger boiled over. You are disgusting. My mother is off limits to you. She's still my mother for goodness sake. Have some respect. The thought of Emenike's roving eyes on her mother made Zara's skin crawl. Emenike told his wife it's better he told her than going at her back. He made his wife know that ever since her mother came, whenever she comes around him or pass him by, his manhood would stand and won't ever go down till he leaves her presence. According to him, seeing her mother's face in the house is seducing him. Zara suggested her mother should leave to avoid the temptation, but Emenike insisted on having her. If not, he would divorce Zara and collect everything he has done for her, which includes the business, the cars. All her accounts will be frozen, and he would make sure she didn't live with their baby. Emenike, a wealthy businessman, was known for his generosity and lavish spending. He showered his wife, Zara, with gifts and attention, ensuring she lacked nothing. He opened a grand boutique in her name, filled with designer clothes and jewelries. He bought her a collection of luxury cars, and they lived in a mansion that optimized opulence. However, beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect marriage, Emenike had a big problem. He had an insatiable appetite for women. At first, he would often sneak around indulging in fleeting affairs with younger women. He justified his actions, telling himself he was showing them generosity and opportunity. Zara basked in the luxuries he provided. She managed the boutique, surrounded by beauty and excess. But as time passed, whispers of Emenike's humanizing began to reach her ears. She dismissed the rumors, believing her husband's love and generosity were genuine. But the frequency and brazenness of his affairs eventually became too much to ignore. Zara confronted Emenike, who told her that's who he is. It's either she accepts him the way he is, or she should get ready to welcome other wives. Zara's heart ached. She felt humiliated. The lavish gifts and attention now seemed like a facade, a distraction from his true nature. She began to withdraw from their social circle, feeling like a fool for not seeing the signs earlier. Emenike's humanizing continued, and his relationships with his mistresses grew bolder. He started to bring them to the house. Zara has grown accustomed to the lavish lifestyle her husband provided. Despite her discomfort with his infidelities, she felt trapped and unable to escape. Emenike's wealth and generosity has become a double-edged sword, both a blessing and a curse. With each new affair, Emenike would shower Zara with even more extravagant gifts, buying her silence and tolerance. He would take her on luxurious vacations, buying her designer clothes and jewelry, and shower her with cash. Zara felt like a prisoner in a gilded cage, unable to leave the marriage without sacrificing the comforts she had grown accustomed to. As the years went by, Zara became increasingly numb to Emenike's antics. She learned to suppress her feelings and focus on the benefits of their marriage. But deep down, she longed for genuine love and respect. Zara was lost in thoughts, her mind 1,000 miles away from the boutique. The sound of the door should catch her attention, but she didn't notice the elderly woman that entered. Mrs. Janet approached her. She had to tap Zara's shoulder to get her attention. Dear, are you okay? You seemed lost in thought, she said. Zara snapped back to reality, apologetic. Oh, I am so sorry. I was just preoccupied. Janet's kind eyes sparkled with understanding. I could see that, you know. I've been around long enough to recognize a troubled mind when I see one. What's bothering you, child? Zara hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. but there was something about the woman's warm demeanor that put her at ease. "It is my marriage," she said. "I feel trapped, like I am losing myself." Mrs. Janet nodded knowingly. "I have been there too, dear. Tell me what is bothering you." "I am married to a very rich man who provides my needs. I have a very big boutique here, as you can see, and I drive good cars. I am living large, but the only problem I have with my husband is that he humanizes a lot. Even to the point that I will be the one to go for those girls, like to talk to them, and each time I refuse doing it, there will be problem in the house." "Let me tell you, my child," Mrs. Janet said, "it's never too late to take control of your life. You deserve happiness. And if that means leaving a toxic situation, then so be it." Zara returned home that day. Her mind raced as she weighed her options. She longed to escape the one-sided open marriage, but the luxurious lifestyle Emenike provided had become a comfortable habit. Yet, the thought of contracting a disease from his careless ways sent shivers down her spine. Just as she was torn between her desires and fears, a sudden headache and feverish feeling washed over her. She decided to go for a checkup. The doctor's office revealed a surprise. Zara was pregnant. Her world spun as she grappled with the news. A child with Emenike, the thought terrified her. She had always wanted to be a mother, but not like this. Not with a man who didn't respect her or their marriage. The pregnancy news forced Zara to confront her situation head on. She couldn't leave the marriage, not now that she had a child to consider. The thought of raising a child alone without his father's support was not an option for her. Zara journeyed through the pregnancy and finally put to bed. Zara's mother Joy was over the moon when she arrived to help care for her new grandchild. She spent her days queuing over the baby, cooking meals, and generally enjoying her new role. But one day, Emenike called Zara with a shocking confession. He was developing feelings for her mother. Zara was shocked. "What did you just say? Clean your mouth. That's my mother you are talking about. How dare you even think of her like that?" Emenike laughed. "Ah, come on, Zara. Your mom is still a beautiful woman. I can't help how I feel." Zara's anger boiled over. "You are disgusting. My mother is off limits to you. She's still my mother, for goodness sake. Have some respect." The thought of Emenike's roving eyes on her mother made Zara's skin screw. Emenike told his wife it's better he told her than going at her back. He made his wife know that ever since her mother came, whenever she comes across him or pass him by, his manhood will stand and won't ever go down till he leaves her presence. According to him, seeing her mother's face in the house is seducing him. Zara suggested her mother should leave to avoid the temptation, but Emenike insisted on having her. If not, he would divorce Zara and collect everything he has done for her, which includes the business, the cars. All her accounts will be frozen, and he would make sure she didn't live with their baby. For 1 week, Zara couldn't beat it. She cried her eyes out. She finally gave in to Emenike's insatiable urge, and he came up with an idea that they should drug her mother for him to penetrate. Zara agreed to drug her mother just to keep her marriage. Emenike had his way and slept with Zara's mother 2 good times. When he was through, Zara cleaned her mother up. She woke up after a few hours and was complaining of pains in her vagina, saying she felt like someone who was forced. She said her body was heavy. She wanted to go to the hospital for a checkup, but Zara couldn't let her because they might find out she was forced. But her mother wasn't comfortable and insisted on going to the hospital. That was when Zara decided to open up to her mother and told her the truth. She gave her a heavy slap and started laying curses on her and her husband, after which she left that night at a very late hour. The next day, Zara's mother texted her the results that proved she was drugged and taken advantage of. She told her to be ready to rot in jail with her husband. Grandma Joy sat on the bay floor, her body racked with sobs. She couldn't understand why her own daughter and son-in-law would conspire against her. Hadn't she sacrificed everything for Zara's happiness? After her husband's early passing, Grandma Joy had dedicated her life to raising Zara. She had refused to remarry, pouring all her love and attention into her daughter. And this was how Zara repaid her, by allowing her husband take advantage of her. Grandma Joy felt like her heart had been ripped apart. She thought of all the times she had gone without just to provide for Zara. The times she had put Zara's needs before her own. The times she had sacrificed her own happiness for her daughter's sake. And now, it seemed like it had all been for nothing. Zara and Emenike's betrayal cut deep, and Grandma Joy couldn't help but wonder if she had been foolish to think that her sacrifice would be appreciated. With a newfound determination, Grandma Joy slowly got up from the floor. She wiped away her tears. Determined to seek justice, Zara's mother went to the station and filed a complaint against Zara and Emenike. She alleged that they had conspired to take advantage of her. The case was brought before the court, and Zara was shocked to see the court serve her and her husband paper. "Mother, please, let's talk about this," Zara pleaded. "We can resolve this within the family." But Grandma Joy was resolute. "No, Zara, I will not cancel this case. I deserve justice for what you and your husband have done to me." Emenike sat in his lawyer's office, his head in his hands. He couldn't believe the mess he had gotten himself into. The shame and guilt were suffocating him, making it impossible to face Grandma Joy and apologize. His lawyer, Mr. Johnson, fidgeted nervously. "Emenike, I am afraid we are in a tight spot here. The evidence against you is strong, and Grandma Joy's testimony was convincing." Emenike groaned. "What can I do? I don't want to go to jail." Mr. Johnson hesitated. "Well, there was two options. Either we convince Grandma Joy to withdraw the case or what?" Emenike pressed. Mr. Johnson sighed. "Or you and Zara deny the allegations together. We can claim that Grandma Joy is making it all up, that she's trying to frame you." Emenike's eyes widened in horror. "But that's not true. I did take advantage of her and Zara knew about it." Mr. Johnson shrugged. "I know, but desperate times call for desperate measures. If we deny the allegations, we might be able to discredit Grandma Joy and get the case thrown out." Emenike felt a wave of cold wash over him. He didn't want to stoop to lying, but the thought of facing the consequences of his actions was unbearable. "What will happen if we get caught lying?" he asked. Mr. Johnson's expression was grim. "If we get caught, it would only make things worse, but I am afraid it is the only way out of this mess." Emenike's fear was evident as he thought about asking Zara to testify against her mother. He knew it was a long shot, and his lawyer's words only added to his anxiety. "I don't know what you were thinking, Emenike," Mr. Johnson said, shaking his head. "How could you even consider making advances towards your mother-in-law? And what's even more surprising is that your wife consented to it. What type of woman is she?" Emenike broke down in tears, his body shaking with sobs. "I forced her, okay? I forced her to consent against her will. She didn't want to, but I made her feel like she had no choice." Mr. Johnson's expression turned from confusion to disgust. "You forced her? Emenike, that was not right. That is not a healthy relationship." Emenike's tears only intensified as he realized the gravity of his actions. He had manipulated and controlled Zara, and now he is to ask her to deny her own mother's allegations. "How can I ask her to do that again?" Emenike wailed. "She will never agree to it, and even if she does, how can I live with myself?" Mr. Johnson sighed, his voice softening. "Emenike, I think it's time you took responsibility for your actions. You need to face the consequences of what you have done, and you need to make amends with your wife and her mother." During breakfast next morning, Emenike told his wife he has a way for them to win over the case against her mother. Zara became interested and asked him how. Emenike told her they both need to deny her mother's allegation in court. That way, the court will not find them guilty and trash the case away. Zara's eyes widened, her voice firm and resolute. "You want me to deny my mother's allegation after everything you have put us through?" You think I'll just lie to protect you again? Emenike's face fell, realizing too late that Zara had reached her breaking point. You have done enough already to me and my mother, Zara continued, her voice rising. I won't hurt my mother again because of you. If you had controlled your desire, we wouldn't be in this mess. I'll never testify against my mother. You can do your worst. Zara's words hung in the air like a challenge, leaving Emenike stunned and defeated. He knew he had lost his grip on her, that she would no longer follow him blindly. With a heavy heart, Emenike realized that his schemes had finally caught up with him. He had pushed Zara too far, and now she was standing up to him. What will you do then? Emenike asked. Zara's response was swift and decisive. I'll tell the truth, and I'll make sure my mother gets the justice she deserves. I don't mind going to jail with you. Emenike's world began to crumble around him. He knew he was beaten, that his web of lies and deceit had finally ensnared him. The day of judgment arrived, and Emenike stood before the court. His head hung low in shame. In a surprise move, he pleaded guilty to all charges, taking full responsibility for his actions. I was the one who made advances towards Grandma Joy. I was the one who forced Zara into silence. I am truly sorry for my actions. Grandma Joy, seated in the front row, looked at Emenike with a mix of sadness and relief. She had hoped for justice and now it was being served. Emenike continued, I want to make things right. I want to right my wrongs. I plead for forgiveness from Grandma Joy and Zara. I understand if they cannot forgive me, but I hope they can find it in their hearts to do so. The judge looked at Emenike with a stern expression. Emenike, your actions have caused harm to an innocent woman. You have broken the trust of your mother-in-law and disrespected her. You must face the consequences of your actions. Emenike nodded, accepting his fate. Emenike was sentenced to 2 years of imprisonment with hard labor. Additionally, half of his wealth was ordered to be given to Grandma Joy as compensation for the emotional distress she had endured. As Emenike was laid away in handcuffs, he caught Zara's eyes. She looked at him with a mix of sadness and relief, her eyes saying, I am sorry it had to end this way.